The Unfiltered Business Podcast, a place where young professionals come together to grow, evolve, and change for the better. A place where success is accessible. Welcome to the show. Welcome back. It's the Unfiltered Business Podcast. I am your host, Derek Thomas. Episode 10. This week we have old friend, former ASU quarterback, also the head coach at Archbishop Mitty, Danny Sullivan. This is a great episode. We talk a lot about leadership, coaching, kind of what's happened since, we played sports back in the day, kind of the evolution of coaching over the course of the past 15, 20, 25 years. And it was a great conversation. We start off talking a little bit about golf. So for those who are not fans, I apologize. Danny and I are uber competitive when it comes to our golf games, and we consistently have matches like every few weeks. And I have to put this in there, but Danny, I did beat you last time. So but anyways, I love Danny. We've been friends a long time. He's got a great family. His family's always been big supporters of our business Polygon. I'm actually working with his dad right now on some real estate stuff. And then his mother was one of our early supporters right when I joined the team. So we always appreciated them. Danny's great. I think you guys will get a lot out of this. And selfishly, I wanted to bring him on because, our business is growing and I'm looking to grow kind of my leadership role as we continue to bring on more teammates and just more people, more things to manage. I need to figure out how to delegate properly. And, we talk a lot about kind of how that works and the mindset and how you kind of bring accountability while having different people, manage separate parts of your business. So very, very interesting. I hope you guys get something out of it. On another note, Allison and I are about to go on vacation for the first time since our honeymoon back in 2017. We've done little extended weekends here and there. But this is the first time we were actually leaving for a week. And I've got all of my away messages set. I've filled in all of our clients going, hey, we're going to be out. But so typically I talk about this every week, but I normally record Monday evenings. It is Saturday morning. I had planned on waking up at about 7 to get some stuff done. I ended up waking up at 4 and hammering everything out. It's about 8:30 now, and this is the last thing on the checklist. So I'm excited. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see the board behind me. It's been a crazy freaking week. It's like once you put out there in the universe that you're going to be going on vacation, everything's fine until like 4 days before you leave, and then all hell breaks loose and there's different opportunities. I mean, this has just been a week of people going, hey, we want to work with you, which, normally I'd be thrilled about. But right now you're just like, oh shit, like, am I ever going to be able to get away? And so that's kind of been, that's been something of a struggle this week, is like, how am I going to be able to get off the grid and really enjoy myself? But what's been nice is that it's kind of challenged Allison and I to really get our shit together and make sure our teammates have everything that they need to kind of fill in the gaps while we're gone. We've had multiple meetings saying like, hey, what do you guys need so we can be able to let you guys do your thing. And we have a few teammates that are stepping up to take on a few meetings. It's just, again, like last week I talked about how proud I was of what this business has become. And this is just another testament of like, we've figured something out where we are going to be able to leave and not worry every moment of the day that something's gone wrong. I'll check in with you guys next week when we get back. Hopefully I have the same sentiment. But I'm really happy. I'm excited to get off the grid. We're going to Palm Springs and Joshua Tree for a few days. So I plan on drinking some Mai Tais, sitting by the pool, social distance, of course, but maybe getting a few rounds of golf in. But it's just going to be nice to kind of check out. Again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fully check out. I'm definitely going to try. But yeah, I'm really happy with what's been happening of recent. We're starting to really hit our stride here. But yeah, we'll next week when we're back, and I'll update you on how my stress levels were while we were gone and how much I was actually able to check out. But the goal is to completely check out, maybe check in on the team like once over the course of the week. But anyways, let's get into the episode. Again, we got Danny Sullivan, who's former ASU quarterback back in the 2000s and coached at Los Gatos, was head coach at Palo Alto, now the head coach at Archbishop Mitty here in the South Bay area. I know he's got a great program coming up. They actually, with some of the California regulations, we recorded this back in February, but now the season has commenced and they're actually have like their first game, I believe, in like a week or so. So I know they're going to be live streaming some stuff. So if you're interested, go to the Archbishop Mitty website. But Danny's a great guy. Again, I love him. I love his family. He's got a great fiance. He's getting married this year. So it's a big year for Danny. Enjoyed this episode. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys next week. All right, now joining the show, we have Danny Sullivan, the head coach of Archbishop Mitty High School and also the assistant director of admissions. Danny, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Derek. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So we've gone back a long ways. Oh, I forgot to mention you're also a former ASU quarterback. So, pretty big deal over here. And it kind of jumps. Well, actually, before we jump into the show, I always like to talk golf with my former golfers. So I heard you had a match yesterday. How'd it go? You were playing at Poppy Hills, right?
Yeah, I played Poppy Hills. Weather was great despite the rain that came down. And I guess we're in between storms. Like I can see outside, it is blowing right now. Hard.
Yeah. It's supposed to come down later tonight, I think.
Yeah, it's supposed to. But we played a little wolf.
Okay.
Things got really interesting on the last couple holes. Guys trying to make up a little scratch by going solo.
Spicy.
Lost to a birdie on 18, which is no fun, but I won my solo match against a fellow competitor. So nice. I'll take it. It's all right.
So the game was okay?
Game was sharp yesterday.
Nice.
It was sharp. No birdies. 6 over. So
hey, Poppy, that's all day. You guys play the whites again or whatever that middle tee was?
Three Poppy, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty good, man.
Very metronomic tempo for me yesterday. It was
there you go.
Nice. Yeah.
I know that's what we've been talking about is like just think of that swing tempo, nice and smooth.
Yeah, exactly.
I played Moffett yesterday and it was weird. It was one of those days where you feel like you're striking it well and you just can't score. Like I shot an 86 and I thought I was playing well. Like I was actually striking the ball well, just couldn't get up and down, couldn't make a putt, no birdies all day. It was rough.
Yeah, if you're striking it well, but you're not getting anything on the greens, it's like you're going to look at that scorecard and go, how did that just happen?
Right, exactly. But I got that 2-iron dialed in. It is just piercing. It's my new favorite club.
You're going to need it in late July, buddy.
That's true. All right, let's get into this. So I know when I originally talked to you to come on the show, I wanted to talk about kind of coaching our youth. But before we get into that, I have something else I want to throw your way. And forgive me because I'm still sort of unpacking this. So I want to talk to you about leadership. We've grown up together. We played Little League together, football, baseball. I mean, you name it. We were always some of the, without tooting our own horns here, we're some of the better players on the team. Obviously, you're a quarterback at ASU. So like I'm still working this out again, but it's like we were team captains, right? And at that age and college, I'm sure it's a little bit different, but you could kind of get away with being a captain by having the talent, right? Versus being a leader. And I kind of want to see what your thoughts are on the difference between like captain's leadership, like that sort of thing. You understand where I'm going with this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a challenge that you're always trying to figure out, especially for kids of the high school age. Like they're not really in depth with what leadership really means.
Right.
And so, you can obviously have the kids who have a strong voice with their teammates and their friends. and they're able to get the pulse of the group pretty quick.
Mm.
But that's so far and few between.
Yeah.
And you're asking your kids to do something they're uncomfortable with. And it's one of the sayings that we like to have within our program is comfortable being uncomfortable.
Okay.
Because it's always ever changing. There's certain things, certain situations that are going to come up in anything they do, whether it's in the classroom, like they pop quiz. How do you handle that?
I mean, that motto goes for life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's something that we try and resonate with them. Like, this is something that's going to happen when you leave MIDI, go to college, start your own life. Like, it's going to be there every day.
Yeah. It's interesting. You're talking about how it's not like this innate thing that we have inside or at least for some people. Right. And especially at the high school age, like being that leader can kind of, I mean, it's weird. We grow up in high school and there's so many different demeanors, right? It's like, you're kind of the cool guy if you don't care. You're kind of the cool guy if you have this like laissez-faire attitude. But on the sports world and in the captain leadership world, it's like, you kind of need to be the opposite of that. You need to be the guy who's showing up first, leaving last, showing a good, like being that example. And it is interesting to hear that, like, there are kids that have it inside them, but you almost need them to kind of like blossom a little bit, right? You're hoping that they can at least.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'm trying to figure out the best way to put this. Like, there's opportunities for kids to, I mentioned taking the pulse of the program.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my staff and I know things are going well when we have kids like leading stretches, leading drills. Like, when it comes to summertime, if they're on their own leading drills, like we're happy. Like, they get it. We have an idea, and that's going to trickle down to our younger kids as well.
Mm-hmm.
When the coaches are the ones having to kind of take the reins, it's a lot tougher to get things done. And it's a crazy way of thinking about it, because that's what we're supposed to do. Like,
right. But you're hoping to have, like, you guys are supposed to be kind of the CEOs of the whole team, right? And then you're hoping you have like little managers that kind of work within that, where it's your assistant coaches, but you're hoping that you have players that kind of stand up and be like, hey, we're taking accountability for this, right? So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, within our program, like, culture is huge. There's so many ways you can dive into culture, and that's going to be the same way in the business world. Like, you're going to find jobs that you have that the culture is great and you never want to leave. But then you probably had opportunities prior to where you are now that, God, I really don't like this. There's something off. The culture's not right. It's just not a right fit. And our biggest challenge is always firing off the word of accountability. Like, if you can't be accountable, or our little saying is, if you can't own the role, things are going to struggle, and it's going to lead into all aspects of your life.
Right. It's interesting. Like, I remember, again, kind of circling back to what I was saying before, it's like, if you were talented, if you were one of the better players on the team, you kind of lean into, the coaches almost leaned on you to be like this cap and this leader. But I remember when I had that role and then I got hurt, right? And it was like, I don't know how to be this guy anymore because I can't show myself on the field. And that kind of leads into like the coaching aspect of it, where it's like, it's easy to be a leader when you're able to showcase your skills on the field, right? When you're throwing touchdown passes, you're making plays, you're doing whatever it is, whatever sport, it's easy to be that guy. When you're not, I'm interested, like, kind of your mindset, because as my role in my business, like, I can't be involved in everything, right? I can't. I have to be the top guy. I have to be able to. But when you're not in the trenches, it's difficult to lead and inspire. And so I'm interested, especially with dealing with youth, but we can get to that. But like, what's your mindset and taking like all the skill set away and just being that leader for these kids?
Yeah, it was one of those, playing the position of quarterback. First off, like, it developed a mindset that you're in a position in which everyone's eyes are on you. Always.
Right.
And that's the same thing as a head coach. No matter what happens, whether it's a horrible play call, kid makes a mistake with an assignment, maybe he, fumbles a ball, whatever, blows a coverage, no matter what happens, it's all on me.
Yeah.
And how I handle that is what the kids, like, they see how we handle everything. Like, they are absolute sponges. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
if we act in a way that's unprofessional or something that's different to them, they're not going to resonate well, then they're going to think that that's okay, and it's going to trickle all around. And
Yeah.
so it's just a cyclical thing. Like, if you do it right, you're doing something right, in which the kids take ownership and understand that that's something that's important.
Right. It's that top down theory, right? It's
Yeah,
like, hey, if it's
exactly.
okay up here, or if it's not okay, like it's just going to trickle itself down.
Yeah. And, it's something that I'm always asking, like in my previous years coaching, like, I want to know what the kids take with the tone of myself and my coaching more than anything. Like, if they want to be pushed hard and like grind it out, we can do that. If they feel like they need to be, take the foot off the brakes a little bit or take it off the gas, like, we can do that.
Right.
And just pick and choose the moments where we got to kind of be stern. If we have a kid who actually is coached harder when he's not a whole lot of talking on the field, more film study, we can do that. I think that's another challenge, that you got to have different ways of attacking situations.
That's interesting too. I mean, I think there's a lot of ways you can utilize that mindset, right? Like, I think as students, with struggling students, with students who are excelling, like understanding that there's different ways that they learn things, like being able to provide that personalized kind of experience, I think is huge. And I'm hoping that that kind of idea grows, because I think the more that we learn about everything, sports, athletics, education, careers, is that like we all figure things out differently. We're all on a different timeline. So it's good to hear that you're doing something like that. And I'm interested now because when we were growing up, and it seems like forever ago, but it really wasn't that long, but the experience seemed to be different, at least from a bird's eye view from me living on the outside. I have memories of us growing up on the JV football field, drinking out of a water horse PVC pipe. I mean, for us, it was great. We were exhausted, but it just seems like everything has changed, right? How have you been able to meld with those changes?
When we were in high school, like, there was a way of doing things. And the reason why that was the case is because it worked for so long.
Right.
With so many different kids. So we were able to come into high school and be like, if we're going to be a part of the football program, this is how it's going to be done. And you'll see, the fruits of your labor.
Well, there was also years and years of championships along with it, right?
Like, there's a reason
you can get away with
there's a reason why LG has second, if not the most number of CCS championships, because of all those years in the, mid late 80s through the 2000s. Even now, they won a title last year. So
I didn't even realize.
It's yeah. I mean, I only know because, being coaching there and just kind of
right.
But I think it's interesting because, are things different? Absolutely. Like, it is. The world is so different from when we were in high school. But I also don't think that that's, like, I hear people talk about it, it's kids are changing. It's like, I don't think they're changing. I think they're adapting to what's going on and how things are being taught and things are being, the accessibility of information is something that we didn't have. Like, they can find out things right away. And so there's just the only different thing is that the difference of thinking and understanding because of what they know now.
Interesting.
So I think there's always ways that our generation can still be way better in terms of providing information and help for the upcoming generation.
Yeah. And I think there's this romantic feeling for us and for the older generations that we had it much harder, right? It's like we always think that the generation after us is so soft and, they got it so easy and everything's been handed to them. But I think you're right. It's just, they're evolving, they're changing,
I mean,
and if you can't do that, you're dead.
Yeah. I mean, think of our parents. Like, they probably had the same thing, but it took them to adapt as well. And now we're in that situation quicker than we may have even realized. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting dilemma dynamic to kind of think about, and that's what we're tackling.
Well, and I think now that we're kind of really digging into this, it's coming to light in my head a little bit where it's like, I think the reason why we think it's so different is just because the amount of information is everywhere, right? Like chances are the evolution has been like somewhat steady from generation to generation, but because everything is so in our face all the time,
Yeah.
like it seems like much more. So who
Yeah.
knows? Like it probably isn't that different.
I mean, I was trying to think. We were sitting there, Lindsay and I were on the couch, and just something came up. And what's the first thing that we do? Oh, Google it. Like
Yeah.
this next generation has Google, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, like
Oh
everything they
yeah.
can imagine to just find information.
Right. There's really no excuse like not
I
to have the
mean,
right answer. I don't know what I would do if I was in high school right now and I had an iPhone. I'll just put it that way.
it's being a private Catholic school, the rules for the phones are pretty strict here because they understand like the situation it takes away from actually the education aspect.
Right.
Like kids can't be on their phone from 7:50 when the first class starts until 2:35 when class ends.
When you
There
say
are,
that they can't be on their phone, does that mean it just has to be put away or
yeah,
like,
it's put away,
okay.
but like if they get caught on their phone, then it's like, okay, go see the dean. Like we want to make
Interesting.
sure that they're understanding. Now they have their own iPad to gather information,
Right.
but everything in terms of their classwork, books, everything is on that. So
Right. And they're I'm sure that they can't have Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and stuff installed, right?
it's a big no.
Well, I wanna go back to again like our glory days and talk about a little bit more of the differences because we were lucky enough to I'm talking football strictly here, but
Yeah.
we were lucky enough to play under Coach Catalico, right?
Yeah.
Historic Los Gatos coach. I number of championships. You probably know how many, but it's dozens, right? Or it's tens of, whatever. A
Yeah.
lot. And again, it was I remember him being very hard on us, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way. It was just more like the expectation, right? He expected a lot out of us, and you would leave the field sometimes if you didn't do your duty, and you would feel bad, but you didn't hate him, right? There was no like fuck that guy. It was
Yeah.
just like shit, like, and there's something about that mentality that I'm a little envious of, right? It's like you're able to inspire these kids while still being very hard on them, but not going over the line where, again, I'm saying, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
And I'm interested if that line is still allowed kind of in the coaching world just because of all the oversight now. Like we were talking about before, like you get away with stuff when you're winning. You can get away with stuff because of the lack of information that was available during our heyday. But
Yeah.
now, I mean, parents are parents are fucking crazy now, so who knows? So I'm curious, like your thoughts on that.
There's a fine line that you have to be comfortable with. I think different teams have different thresholds.
Right.
Different schools have different thresholds. And a lot of that is kind of how the outstanding culture is built.
Mm.
I think back to when we were in high school. Was coach hard? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But he was also really good about when there needed to be a light moment, like lighthearted. He knew when to do that.
He was one of the funniest guys around too. Like he was hilarious.
To this day.
Yeah.
To this day. And I think
even in the film room, like you would fuck up and he would kind of put you on blast.
Yeah.
But everyone, I mean, if it was relatively light, you would feel it for sure.
Oh,
but
yeah.
then there was a way of kind of circling back and making you feel like part of the team again.
Yeah. And I think that's the reason why, there were so many kids that came out to play. Like,
yeah.
And I think that's something that kids always want to be a part of. They want to be a part of something special.
Mm.
And it's interesting. I'm one of the few that not just played for him, but coached with him.
Yeah.
And seeing the other side of the preparation and kind of the demeanor was really interesting to witness. And it's safe to say that he changed in, let's say, a 6-year span from when I played and then coached them.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one other guy on our staff, Joe Farwell, who played in the 90s, went on to play at Oregon and was coaching with us too.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have conversations and Joe would say, "Oh my God, coach was ruthless when I played for him." This is, 90s, late 80s.
Yeah.
And I just sat there and go, I don't know what I would do in those times of coach being ruthless. Like we thought he was ruthless when we were playing.
Yeah.
If he was ruthless then, what would we do? And it just matriculates back to right now with kids, the generation, times changing, like all the differences. So
it sounds like the good leaders, the good coaches are able to evolve, right? Being able to understand where the line is, how the line has changed, when to push, when not to push. I mean, this is all great stuff. Again, I'm doing this. I'm asking you these things selfishly because I'm trying to, we're in a growing business here at Polygon. Yep. And like I said, I can't be involved in everything anymore. I have to be focused on the growth. So our team's growing, and when you're less involved, and less involved may not be the right word, but less involved on the day-to-day, like how can I still be that leader that they need me to be and that the company needs to be? And I think this is like providing a ton of insight for it. So it's really informative, and it's cool that you're able to see this side of it too.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned evolving. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a coach. I don't know if there's a coach out there that would still be coaching if he wasn't able to evolve, whether it's a year-to-year basis, whether it's within a 5-year span, is it 10? But it's constantly changing and evolving.
You got to give these coaches credit, these NFL guys, because they're dealing with 22-year-olds, and Tom Brady's what, 42, like something like, and not that he needs a ton of coaching, but you know what I mean. They're dealing with multiple generations there. It's pretty impressive.
Well, here's a good one for you. So Tom Brady, Bay Area guy, went to Sarah. In his time with the Patriots, when he was young, obviously, whatever play call was called, he's going to run it. As that involvement and maturity happens, he can kind of go at the line. You give him 3 different plays, he calls the one. Shocker, they're probably winning the game. Goes to a new team, new offense, new players, new everything. Head coach. You look at their record halfway through the season, like it was kind of like, are they going to make the playoffs?
Oh yeah.
And their head coach, offensive mind, has been really good, like Coach Andrew Luck, numerous guys. And so how would those two meld? Well, not only did one evolve, but both evolved. And look at them now. They're in the Super Bowl playing at home, like first time ever.
Insane.
By the way, that's insane.
It's so, I mean, I was talking with Allison about it, and I have my thoughts on the Chiefs just because of the game that happened, the Super Bowl last year. So yeah, exactly. So like I want the Chiefs to get their asses kicked, but it's pretty impressive to see. You got the GOAT Tom Brady against this rising star who could potentially be the best ever. There's no ceiling for how good he could be.
It is crazy to see the things that Patrick Mahomes can do on the football field. And it's wild because he has a baseball background.
I mean, he's just one of those stud athletes.
It's no look passes. He's throwing underhand, like on design plays. Like, get out of here. Like, I would have never imagined that was possible 10 years ago. Like, no way.
Evolution of the game, man.
Evolution.
Hey, so I want to round this thing out because we've got some great little nuggets in here. I want to hear, you came back from ASU, you started coaching at Los Gatos, and then you moved your way up. You got the head coaching job at Palo Alto, and then you moved into the West Catholic League at Archbishop Mitty. I mean, and you may not have this all figured out, but I mean, what is your goal? You know, is there something down the line that you want with coaching?
So I've mentioned this a couple times. I'm really thankful, fortunate, good buddy of mine, Sione Taufo, took over here at MIDI, and he called me. Things were not going well at Palo Alto. And the reason for that, trying to change a culture is so hard.
Right.
It is so hard. And it just wasn't working out. I wasn't happy. Like, dude, my health was not good. It was a bad time.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of leaving the state, moving out of the state, starting just fresh with Lindsay. And Sione called and was like, come by campus, meet the AD, just let me know what you think. And there was just like this rejuvenation. And the best part was that Lindsay was like, how are you going to not coach? Like, are you kidding?
I don't know what you'd do. Not that you're not capable. It's just more or less like, this is your
absolutely love it.
Right.
All the details. I mean, game planning is one, you see it on the board behind, but game planning is one thing. Like the day-to-day operations of the kids, get to see them every day. Scheduling, you know, culture, accountability, leadership, all of that is huge. And when Sione decided to leave and, you know, I've taken over, I don't see myself going anywhere. I am so happy where I am. I have a great staff with me too. But the best part is that my fiance is loving the fact that I'm a head coach.
I love it.
And that was my biggest worry, you know, like now that I've got a second person in my life, I didn't know, like, how am I going to manage all this time, especially in season? Like, are you kidding?
Oh yeah.
Leaving at 7 a.m., not getting home till 8. And she's like, for 4 months out of the year, it's all right. You got to do this. And so,
sounds like you picked a winner.
Life is great, man. Life is really good.
That's good, man. I'm super happy. And in all honesty, like I can see the passion. You know, we used to watch pre-COVID days. We'd watch a lot of Sunday football together.
Yeah.
And just watching your mind kind of work while watching the games, it was always impressive. It was like, you know, the quarterback would come up to the line and 2 seconds before the snap, Sully's like, oh, they're going to run this play. It's going to be open ball. It's like,
yeah, I
don't know how my brain never worked like that, but it's clear that you found something that really works with, you know, who you are, your mindsets, and just everything that you want to do. And it's pretty cool because not everyone has that luxury. So I'm happy for you, dude.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we've got a couple friends who like are doing what they want to do. It's pretty rare to find, especially within one group. But we also appreciate everyone's passions and joys. And I think that's the best part.
I agree. And I think that's like the cool part too, is like being able to embrace each other's like passions and how they enjoy, you know, the day-to-day life. And again, there's like nothing better. That's what we all hope for.
Yeah.
And so definitely. I love that we embrace it. We all support each other. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, Danny, this has been a pleasure. Thanks for coming on, and I'm ready to hit the links again. We got to have another match.
I mean, it's got to be done.
Yep. Well, thanks again, man. We'll talk soon, and yeah, take care.
All right. Thanks, D.